I track where every dollar goes throughout the month against the budget plan that we set up actually before the month begins. And I'll share it all with you in this budget report for January 2020. Let's get started with our income, and you can see that we planned on $9,264, and we ended up with $14,790, which is very different than where we thought the month was going to be. We used $5,300 from sinking funds and $250 from savings, and so that is what brought us to our total of $14,790, which is a total of $5,526 more than what we planned. I'll talk later about what funds we pulled all of that out of so that you know where that's coming from. And yeah, this really kind of set the stage for the whole month. We didn't have anything that we did in giving in the month of January. We had a total of $1,499 in housing, which is comprised of $1,054 with the mortgage, $165 for gas and electric utilities, $177 for mobile services, and $101 for internet. We came in just a little bit over. That has to do with the internet charges. The service went up. Moving on to transportation, you can see that there was a lot of activity going on in here in January. So first of all, we came in over in gas by $32. OnStar was as planned at $21. We also had some maintenance for the Lucerne at $47 and some for the Traverse at $55. I think this was windshield wipers, and this was an oil change and a tire rotation. And then we have the big news, and that is that we bought a car. We bought a 2008 Lincoln MKX. This car was from Matt. And here's what happened was we actually had been saving up money for replacing the engine in our 2006 Trailblazer that died almost 2 years ago. And this all became a priority last fall in regard to our son who got a job. He's in high school, so he goes to school all day, and 3 to 4 nights a week he works after school. The problem was we were all going in different directions and 2 cars was not working. So we made it a priority to save up to replace the engine. And as we were closing in on having enough money to make that purchase, I started talking about it in my budget videos. And that's when Jan, a viewer who I've gotten to know really well over the last year, hi Jan, and make sure and tell Don I said hello. She reached out to me because her husband had some advice for us since I was talking about buying an engine. And that advice, oh, by the way, her husband, Don, used to work in the automotive industry. So he's got a little bit of, knowledge in this area, a lot more than we certainly do. So his message was remanufactured engines are safer than buying a rebuilt engine. So we did some research and we had conversations with people around us that we trusted who know about this kind of thing. My husband's best friend and since junior high has been working in auto repair since they got out of high school. And also I have a cousin who owned his own repair shop for 25 years. So we went to those sources and asked them questions and quickly figured out that we needed to buy a replacement vehicle instead because we thought buying an engine would save us money and help us avoid having to buy a different car, but we were going to have to spend the same amount of money, if not more. So we decided to do a used vehicle instead. So it's new to us, but it's used. Obviously, it's a 2008. And this was a new vehicle for Matt, essentially. And Henry bought our Lucerne from us. So I have the Traverse, Henry has the Lucerne, Matt has the MKX. But Matt had a $5,000 budget. It was all in. So from beginning to end, $5,000 is what he has to buy this car and get it on the road with us. So he did all of the research. He made all of the contacts. He is the one who did all of the work on this. And you can see that we bought the new car for $3,800. And then we paid $608 for repairs. And that was in the plan. We knew there were going to be repairs because we had it looked at by a mechanic before we purchased it. And then we had to get over to the DMV, and we had to purchase the tax title, license, all that good stuff. And that was another, I think it was just over $300. And then this is bigger because of this $155 that we had to pay to register the Traverse. But this, about $300 of this was for the new car. And then that brought the total just at about $4,700. We have one more thing that needs to be done, and that is we need to flush the transmission fluid. And so we're going to do that at some point, and that's going to cost about $200, putting us at about $4,900-ish. And that's still under the $5,000 budget all in that I gave to Matt. So he did a great job on taking that seriously and, getting something that we need that will get us through just the basics of getting around town, get to work every day, get to, there's a town about 45 miles away that he needs to get to once a month for workshops that he does for work. That's really all we needed, because when we travel, we use the Traverse. So the other two cars are just for getting around town, basically. And then the last thing on here, I had to take an Uber one day, and so that was another $15, but that brought our total to $5,423 for the month, which is, $4,787 over budget. The good news is we had it all in sinking funds, so this was not stressful at all, other than I just wanted it to be over. Here's the thing, you guys. The reason why this is such a big deal is because I've never bought a car ever in my life and walked away without a payment. Ever. And I'm 47 years old. It's never happened. So I am I'm just really proud of us. We have come a long way in the last 2 years. I mean, really, I guess what I want to share with you is, if you're sitting out there and you're watching this and you're thinking, I don't think I could ever do something like that. That was me 2 years ago. That was me doing that. And I was sitting here watching all these people winning with their money. And I was like, I don't think we'll ever be able to do that. I can't even fathom what that would be like. It just didn't seem like a possibility, but it is possible. And so many people say this, but I know they mean it. If we can do it, you can do it. It is, you have to want it and you have to do the work. But if you have those things going for you, you're going to meet your financial goals. This was a financial goal, and we worked for it. We saved for several months. All three of us worked toward this goal. So I just want you to know I was exactly where you are. 2 years ago right now, I was exactly there. I still didn't believe it even just a few months ago when we started talking about it. I was like, I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off. Something's going to go wrong. We're going to have to spend the money elsewhere. I just know we're never going to make it to $5,000. I just knew it. But we keep surprising ourselves. So just know that you just need to start. You just need to start with your first budget. If you haven't started that yet, start with your first budget. If you've had your first budget or maybe your second, keep going. Just keep going and you'll get there. I promise you. The successes are going to come with time. It's one small decision after another that led us here. Okay, so enough about that. Let's talk about food. So food was really boring. I mean, all the rest of the categories were boring compared to transportation. But in food, we planned on $450 for groceries and we spent $442. So we came in a little under, but we went a little bit over in dining at $110. So overall in the category, we were over by $3. And I think that's the best month we've had in food in a while. So $553 total. I'll take that. In Henry's school, we had his no school fees because he's paid up through the end of the year. But we had for food service, I needed to stock up on that. So I put another $200 in his food service account. For pets, we planned on $215 and we spent $313. And you can see it was $15 for grooming, $64 for nothing for food, $64 for meds, and then $233 for the vet. So I think I jinxed us when I set up our January budget because I said that we were really lucky that we have 3 older animals. Our dog is 9 and our cats are 10 and 11, and that none of them they were all healthy and none of them were on meds. And everything went south after that, after I said that. So Bella, our dog, went in for a dental cleaning service. It was towards the end of January. And her blood tests had elevated liver enzymes. So that made the vet nervous, and she called, and she was nervous about putting her under. She said, we don't know what's going on. We don't know why these enzymes are elevated. And so what we did, I called Matt, and we decided, instead of putting her under, to have the dental cleaning, which we were only doing because it's part of her plan. We decided that if she went under, she was going to have extractions that we would have had to pay for anyway. So instead of paying for extractions, we will pay for the testing to check out what's going on. So she needed an x-ray and an ultrasound and some more blood tests. So they did all of that. And I thought that it was going to be a $200 day for the extractions. And when it wasn't going to be dental, I figured we'd have to pay for the testing anyway. So it was still going to be $200. So it was still going to be on plan. And what ended up happening was the vet, she was amazing. She swapped out all of the testing services for the dental services. So we ended up not having to pay anything that day, not a dime that day. So fast forward, one of the things that we found out that day was that her gallbladder, which should be a little bit smaller than a golf ball, was the size of a softball. And it was pushing up against her liver, and they think that's what was causing the elevated liver enzymes because it was inflamed and whatnot. So anyhow, she wasn't exhibiting any symptoms on this day. I mean, and she hadn't been. We actually knew her liver enzymes were up from standard annual testing that was done in May of last year, but she didn't show any signs of or symptoms of anything. And so we said, we're not going to do anything with this right now. We'll see what happens. So in order to work on this gallbladder problem, we need to put her on some medication for 90 days, and we have to test her along the way to see how things are going. So we bought the gallbladder meds, and they were like $63 or $4 for 90 days. Before we could get them from the online pharmacy, she started exhibiting symptoms of being lethargic and just not interested in anything. She was still eating, and she was still going outside, and we believe she was drinking. She was still eating and drinking and going outside, but she just wasn't acting herself. She just slept a lot, and she didn't even get up and meet us at the door, which is unusual. And so I thought she had a bug or something, and I thought, we'll just let it pass. It'll be fine. But those symptoms started, and that same night we went ahead and gave her first gallbladder medication. She has to have it once a day. And then by 48 hours later, she was, let's see her. I was in the bathroom, and she came in crying and shaking, and she was glued to my legs, and she was trying to lay down. She couldn't stand, she couldn't sit, she couldn't lay down. She was so incredibly uncomfortable. She was in distress. So that landed us back in the veterinary office now 9 days after we had the initial testing. So the gallbladder medicine hasn't had a chance to work. We don't know what's wrong. She is completely distressed. She was there all day because they were squeezing her in between appointments. And that's where the $233 came from, because she had to have pain meds. She had to have fluids. She wouldn't drink. At this point, she wasn't drinking anything. It was just it got really scary. And so that's where the $233 came in, and we were over by $33. All of that, a big long story for that. So the good news is she's doing a lot better now. So she was on pain meds for like a week, and now she's off of them. We weaned her off, and she's been fine for almost a whole entire week. We haven't had to give her any. And that's how we came in a total of $98 over, because we didn't plan on meds, and then we had more at the vet visit than we planned. So $313 was our total for pets for the month. So for insurance, we had some changes. The life insurance adjusted a bit, as did the accident insurance here. So there's a little bit of a difference here. And I apparently had this written in wrong on critical illness. I'm not sure why that's off by 10 cents. Oh, and we had to pay for the auto insurance. That's right. So we had to pay for the auto insurance for the new car. So this was a partial payment to get us through like the beginning of June, when our next 6-month policy will come up. So that put us at $934 for the month, which was $181 over plan, but luckily we had that in a sinking fund to take care of all of that, so not an issue. In entertainment, we had $20 for streaming, $3 for our Ink service, $9 for Cinemark, $18 for family entertainment, and $69 for the annual Marvel subscription. And that brought us to, and that's a reading thing. That's something online. Matt and Henry both use it every year. So we renew that every year in January. And that brought our total to $119, which was $14 under budget. Excuse me. I was about to say over budget. But we came in under because we didn't use all of our entertainment. Moving to health, we had $312 for FSA. We had $15 for the gym and $134 for healthcare. And then that brought us to $462, which was $48 over what we planned. And all of these there were just little things that were happening. Flexible spending, I'm in a new plan year, so the cost went up each month and I forgot to account for that. The gym, Matt had to go get a new pass printed, or he had to order a new pass or something, and that cost $5. And then healthcare, this was just a whole bunch of little bills kept coming in and I just kept paying them, and we ended up at $134. In extra, we planned on $132. And we came in under at $90, but so you can see here my hair and brow appointment was $52 as planned, but we didn't end up traveling because weather, it's January in the Midwest, and sometimes that happens. So our trip was canceled. And then even though Matt had some business travel expenses, we still came in under by $41. Actually, those business expenses and all of these, if we'd had any of these, all of them were covered by sinking funds. We didn't have anything in crap. I forgot about that. So that's always good. But I haven't had to use this for a long time, but I leave it in here because it's just fun. And then envelopes, let's see here. We planned on a total of $195 and we spent at $204. So let's just talk about that for a minute. I'm going to go to the bottom and work my way up. First of all, in miscellaneous, we planned on $40 and we spent $45. In household, we spent $71. In Matt's spending, he spent $48, which is a little bit over his $40. And then I want you guys to check this out. So if you're new here, this won't mean a whole lot to you, but if you've been watching our budget reports for the last few months, I have been going over in my personal spending since January of 2019. That is the last time I didn't go over. So a whole year ago. And so what changed? Here's the thing. I recognized that I was having some major difficulty with keeping that under control. And so I set a goal in 2020. I didn't even talk to Matt about this. I just set this goal that we were going to have 100 no spend days in 2020. I had no idea how we were going to do that because I had no interest in doing, like no spend challenges or anything like that. I just was like, we're just going to do it and we'll figure it out as we move along. And then I saw on Instagram there were challenges, no spend challenges for January and for 2020 all over the place, but there was one that just jumped out at me and I thought I'm going to do that one. So I jumped on a January 2020 Facebook group, no spend challenge, and I set a goal of having 10 no spend days in January. While there were lots of people in that group who were going, I'm going to do a whole month of no spend, I was like, oh Lord, I don't know if I can go 3 days without spending. But I'm going to try it. And so we set that goal. I set that goal of 10, and I really didn't engage Matt in this at all. In fact, I didn't tell him about it. I was like, I'm just going to see what happens. I was focused on it was really about the fact that I was focused on my own spending habits. It really had nothing to do with him. But if he spent, then I didn't count that day as a no spend day, basically. And here's what it looked like at the end of the month. I mean, honestly, this looks a lot better than I thought it was going to. We had a total of 14 no spend days, and I'm pretty sure that on every one of those days, I struggled with wanting to spend. And here's the thing that this did for me, is it made me uber sensitive to the act of spending. So basically, I had to go into this tracker every day and mark whether or not we spent any money. And most of the time when it was a no spend, it was me. I was the reason why we had the no spend. At least that's what I thought until I started looking into it. Because here's the thing. My husband loves junk food, and so he runs to the store and picks up chips or crackers or whatever. And every time he did that, it was something that wasn't necessarily in our, grocery shopping for the week. I counted that as spending. Even though it's in our budget and it was planned and all of that, I counted that as spending because it wasn't necessary. And granted, he didn't know about it. I'm not blaming him for anything. My point being, that was our biggest downfall, was him stopping at the store and picking up, it's Friday night, let's have some snacks for, we need some animal crackers because Bugaboo's coming over for the night. And she comes every Friday night. And so every Friday he was stopping to pick up something that, she was going to have that would be for her. And then, of course, he's got to pick up something for him and something for me and something for Henry. Anyway, that happened every weekend, the whole month. But the bottom line is I had to go into this tracker every day and I wanted it to be green. I mean, that's really what it amounted to. I mean, I didn't have any control over what Matt was doing, but I had complete and total control over my choices. And that's what kept me under my $40 in personal spending. I cannot believe it. I was sure I was going to go over because there were some things I did towards the end of the month. I was like, that's it. It's going to put me over. Nope. And by the way, I think I only went through the drive-through one time in the whole month. Like, that is huge for me. I don't think I've gone a week without going at least once a week for a long time. That's why this is a big deal. I'm rambling. I'm going to move on. All right, moving on to the budget bounce. Let's see here. I spent $33 in education, $67 in equipment, and $11 in subscriptions, bringing the total to $112, which was $102 over what we planned. And by the way, these purchases they caused me to have spending days that didn't help my cause and what was going on above. But these things all fell into the budget bounce. They were for the business. So I took advantage of some New Year's sales to get some things that I needed. In savings, we put $50 into the emergency fund and then $70 in for the kids. And then we had our retirement savings. So that came to a total of $439. And let's see here. Oh, you can see over here, we used $250 from the account for Henry. And that was part of we needed just a little bit more for making the whole car thing happen. And since he had skin in the game and this was all so he could have a car, I selected his account to take some of this out of. And, that's what it's there for. It was to use for Henry, to help Henry, and this essentially ended up helping Henry to have his own car. All right, so here are our sinking funds, and you can see we put $275 into auto insurance. We didn't put anything in auto registration since we were spending it all on the new car and all that good jazz. $15 to business travel, $80 to city utilities, $40 to clothing, $25 to estate planning, $40 to gifts, $50 to Henry school, $50 to holidays, nothing into image cosmetics since I already spent it. And Henry school was only $50 because we do $250 a month and we spent $200 on his food service account. I do $50 a month into image cosmetics and we spent $52, so I didn't put anything in there. $81 for my life insurance policy, nothing into healthcare. We did $50 to one check ahead, $80 to online subscriptions, $70 into pet expense, $25 into technology, $425 into travel, $100 into vacation, $415 into vehicles, and $15 into wedding anniversaries. That brings the total to $1,836. So you can see here that we spent, this has the breakdown of all of the money that we used from sinking funds for the month. So remember I had $5,300 at the beginning. So $172 for that auto insurance, $155 for the Traverse auto registration. We knew about that before the month began, before we knew we were going to buy a new car. In business travel, it was $123. $23 of that was for actual business expenses. And then the other $100 was to help with the car. We took $150 out of clothing, $500 out of Henry's school, $100 out of image cosmetics, $50 out of healthcare, $150 out of one check ahead, and $200 out of pet expense, and then $3,700 out of vehicles. Now, all of that was for the car except for the $200 for pets. That was actually to help cover the cost of all the things we had going on with the vet and everything for Bella. So that brought our total to $5,300. And if you look up here, ta-da, $5,300. Let me move myself out of the way. And you can see here, I have a formula that pulls that in so that I know that I have the right amount here. So we'll go back down to the bottom. And one other thing that I wanted to show you is that we still have $4,776 in our sinking funds, even after we took all this money out. So I still am feeling pretty good about where we are and what we have here. If something should go awry between our emergency fund and our sinking funds, we have money available to help us with anything that might come up. And finally, we have our debt category, which is pretty big. It's broken into 3 subcategories. The first is this list of those that we have already paid off. And so there are 18 here total, and they total $25,434. And then you'll also notice here that there are 2 different font colors. The pink represents any debts that have my name on them, and then those in black are anything that represents anything that has Matt's name on it. So this next section is the charged off section, and these are all old debts of Matt's that we have set aside for now. So this was at Matt's request because he wants to focus on things that are in my name. So we will tackle these at a later date, and we'll probably end up settling them from anywhere from 50 to 75% of what's listed, but we're not doing that for a while. And it's because of this request of Matt's that he wanted to focus on things in my name that I ended up doing 2 different fonts because I couldn't remember. When we started, we had like 40 different debts, and I couldn't remember whose was whose. We both had Capital One accounts. We both had Lowe's accounts. We had so much stuff going on. So that's where the colors came in. Moving into our actively paying section here, you can see that most of these are in my name, starting with a new medical bill that we have for an ambulance ride that I had in November of 2018. So we paid $20 to that, and we paid $50 to Care Credit, $25 to a Capital One card, $154 to my 401k loan, $55 to Matt's private student loan, $190 to my Lowe's card, $400 to our Visa, $550 to our car payment, $725 to child support, $200 to our family loan, and $225 to student loans, which, yes, that is new. We just started paying that in January for the first time. So that brought our total debt payments to $2,594. So when you look here, you can see our total expenses for the month was $14,784, and our total income was $14,790, which left us with about $6 that we didn't spend. And this section shows the breakdown of what we sent to savings. So here you can see we sent $2,275 to savings, sinking fund, and retirement, which was 24.6% of our regular salaries from our employment. And then we sent $120 to savings, which was 1.3%. We sent $1,836 to sinking funds, which was 19.9%. And we sent $319 to retirement, which was 3.5%. These add up to the 24.6% here and this dollar amount as well. Now let's take a look at our grand totals over here. We started the month at $202,329 in debt. We paid about $734 toward interest, and our ending balance was $200,468. I'm going to tell you, if not for that pesky this bill right here, this medical bill, if this had not popped up, we would have broken into the 190s this month. But that didn't happen. It's happening in February, so not an issue. It would have been nice if it happened when we planned. Anyway, such is life. So moving to the right here, you can see that our starting debt balance was $252,000. And the net debt that we killed off was $1,861 in January, and then that brought our total paid off debt to $51,858. So almost $52,000 in 2 years, because this is our 24th budget. So 2 full years later, we've paid off $51,858. So these numbers over here, what this represents is 28.1% is the amount, that's this amount right here, the total that we paid towards debt divided by our regular salaries from our employment. Okay. So, that's the stuff that's blacked out up at the top. I share the totals, but I don't share the details, that part. So that's 28.1%. And then our total debt paid to date from that beginning $252,000 is 20.8%. So we did hit the 20% mark last month. And yeah, that has been just a huge boost, hitting 50,000, hitting 20%. All of those things are things that help us stay motivated to keep going, because it's a long road, you guys, and it's hard at times. It's really, really hard, but it is so, so worth it. The payoff is so incredibly worth it. All right, guys, so let me know, have you reviewed your budget for January to see how you did? I mean, we are into February now, so I'm sure you're focused on your February budget, but it's always good to go back and review it. So make sure that you do that. And I have a ton more budget reports. If you like to watch these, you need to check them out right here. And make sure that you hit that like button down below if you like this video, and hit the subscribe button and tap the bell next to it so that you'll get notified every time I put up a new video. That's all I've got for you today. Until next time.